Hello, welcome back to another live. Every week the intro, I can see the eyeball number jump up at some point, and I just assume that's when those of you that have the ads at the beginning are done with that so that we can get the live started. But it is cool to see that number jump every week. Anyway, hi. Welcome to another live. If you're new here, my name is Laken, and I go live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern to chat about goals and life and all the things. And as always, we are going to kick it off with our wins. So what is one small win that you have to share from the last week? If you are here live, please say hello in the chat and let us know what your win is. And if you are part of the replay fam, please say hello in the comments and let us know what your win is for the week. Y'all know the win doesn't have to be small, or what doesn't have to be huge. Small progress is still progress. Or as my cup says, done is better than perfect. I've got iced tea in here today. Actually, I've not been sleeping great. And I feel like I've mentioned this, I feel like before, this is related to my win while y'all continue to share yours. So I wear an Oura ring, which is what I use to track my sleep. And I have been trying to cut back on caffeine. And so if my sleep score is above a certain number, then I don't have a second cup of coffee. And I haven't been sleeping well. And so my sleep score has been low. And so then I have that second cup of coffee. But then sometimes I wonder if that second cup of coffee impacts my sleep. But that is related to my win, which is that I actually got out of bed for my alarm the last 3 days. Even though I didn't sleep well, I still did not click that snooze button or just turn it off and then let Lila wake me up. I've actually been getting out of bed and doing my morning routine before she wakes up, which makes a big difference to me. So let me see what some of your wins. Hello. Hi. Happy Wednesday. My win is getting back into budget tracking. Your win is that you are here. I love it. Appreciate the brief intro. Good. I'm glad. I know. I actually think you were the one that explained it to me, but even if you are here before the live actually starts, that you can't watch the intro ad until after I start the live. Made it to the post office, yay, and purchased an Oura ring. Oh my gosh, I hope you love yours as much as I do. I actually have been not wearing my Apple Watch. And I think there's pros and cons. I could talk about that later if you're interested. But I spent time with my sister and her husband and your nieces and nephews. I love it. That's amazing. All right, let's jump in and start with my reading update. So I have been making progress. My nonfiction audiobook, I made a lot of progress from last week. I think I was at 7% last week, and I'm at 58%. It is The Small and the Mighty from Sharon McMahon. Not my typical book, and there are still definitely parts of it that I struggle through a little bit. It is definitely history and nonfiction. And so even though she has this beautiful way of storytelling and does some scenes that are not imaginary, but she adds her own level of description, which is really cool. There are still lots of historical facts and figures and things that sometimes I feel like I struggle through, but I still am really enjoying it, and I'm definitely going to finish it. But that is the nonfiction book that I've been listening to. And then for fiction, I'm still reading. For the fact that this book is the shortest one of the series, it's taken me a long time to get through. I thought I was going to finish it on the plane over the weekend. I was like, I'm not going to plan to do anything except read, and I slept the entire flight. So I am 66% of the way through that book. Oh, well. All right. Monthly goal check-in. Here is a check-in of my goals, and I have a couple of thoughts that I want to comment on. So starting with the one-time steps. Actually, all of my comments are related to the one-time steps. So the first one was to organize my scrapbooking supplies. And in my goals video, I talked about how I have it as a one-time step, and that in some world, I could just spend a couple of hours straight getting through it in one go. And then what I did is I also put it on the weekly section thinking, well, maybe I'll do a little bit every single week. Well, I didn't do it last week. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm probably not going to get to it this week. And I don't think that's going to end up happening. I'm glad that I gave myself the option to do it that way. But in reality, I think that it's going to end up happening, maybe not in one whole setting, but one whole weekend. So I mentioned this in that goals video. I probably said this exact line a million times. You're sick of me saying it. I am out of town 3 of the 4 weekends in October, which is chaos. awesome and exciting and all fun, wonderful things, but also chaotic. And so doing something like that on a weekly basis just hasn't been a priority. I've been during the weekdays, I'm doing work, Lila, or other things. So, but that one weekend, the one weekend that I am not out of town, UT does have a game, but it's a night game. So I have that whole day, aka both of Lila's naps, and Sam is around, obviously. And then Sunday, the Cowboys don't play. Not that there's not other football I might want to watch, but I have a lot of time that weekend. So my theory, what I think is going to end up happening is that weekend in a couple different sprints, I'm going to get through all of the supplies, and then having it a weekly step is unnecessary. Next up, one-time step was to play one game. I did not think about this when I made this plan, but I feel like I cheated a little bit. We had friends in from out of town, and they just spent Friday night with us last week. And so we ended up playing a game after Lila went to bed. And I could have totally called that. They're very much another couple that we tend to play games with when we're together. So that was going to happen. I feel like I didn't have to go out of my way to get that one checked off. The last one-time step was to clean my current meal list. That's what this is. And then update it on a weekly basis. What I realized when I cleaned the list is I am going to move. And what stemmed or sparked this idea too is that somebody asked me in the comments, I don't remember if it was last week's live or the goals video, where do you keep your meals? Where do you keep this list of meals? And I was storing it in Plan to Eat, which is a tool app website where you plop in recipes, like links from the internet. You can make adjustments as needed, which I also feel like every recipe I have from the internet, I have some slight adjustment that I make for our family. And you can combine all the recipes that you plan for the week into one large grocery list. Really cool feature, really cool. The way that I've been meal planning recently, I'm not using that feature. Plan to Eat has just become a storage dumping ground for recipes for me. And that is an unnecessary expense. I don't need to pay for it. So my subscription comes up in November because the first time I bought it was on a Black Friday. So I am not planning to renew my Plan to Eat subscription. Spoiler alert, one of my November one-time steps is going to be to move my recipes over. I'm going to try something. I've said this before, goal setting is a lot of trial and error. I'm going to try excuse me, just a Google Drive, just a Google Doc. And I'm going to put the recipes in there. I'm going to put the links. I'm going to put any comments, notes that I have, and I'm going to sort them the way that makes sense for my brain, which is either by crockpot or non-crockpot, and then by type of protein. That way I try to make sure that we mix it up and we don't have 3 chicken dishes in the week or whatever. So that I did clean up my current list. I checked that off because I went through Plan to Eat and I deleted the ones that I either am not going to worry about right now or that don't work for us. But on November, I'm going to move them to a Google Doc because that I think it's an unnecessary expense. There may be a time in the future that Plan to Eat does work for me. And I still think it's a great thing, a great option. But it is not something I'm going to keep using. Okay. One more thing before we jump into the topic of the week. Community members, please don't forget that your planner disc code expires tomorrow night. So from the live is on a Wednesday, the 9th, the 10th, October 10th at midnight. The coupon code for the planner will go away. So just FYI, if you're interested in the full year version, community members, please don't forget that. I feel like that would be a good spreadsheet for me to make the meals. Rachel, I did consider spreadsheet form, especially when I was talking about the different categories, right? I definitely envisioned the type of cooking across the top because I feel like I have meals I have crock-pot meals. I have meals that are fast, like tacos, like ground beef tacos take 10 minutes to cook. I have meals that are fast in terms of prep work, but long in terms of execution. So I have one, actually, I feel like that falls in that category. And then I have meals that take a little bit longer to cook. We're still talking 30 minutes tops. I'm not spending more than that in the kitchen. So I was thinking that across the top and then the proteins on the side. I was let me move it into a Google Doc first. And then if it doesn't feel like it's working, maybe I'll move it into a spreadsheet. But I definitely did have that consideration. And there's no right or wrong reason or right or wrong way to store your recipes. I could see in some scenario storing them by like type, like tacos. One of you also, I can't remember if this was a DM or a comment now, was talking about how you share different iterations of the recipe. Like for example, taco night. Most of the time I do ground beef because we're usually using chicken or turkey in another recipe. And so it's a way for me to pull in beef that's easy and less expensive. But I could totally make tacos with literally any protein, right? I could make ground turkey tacos. I could make chicken tacos. Tacos are tacos. And so like marking that somewhere too, where it's like the iterations of the recipe that I could make, like ways that I could tweak it. So this just made me giggle. I like the idea of a pivot table, whether protein or cooking method. Yes. And some people are probably like, what the heck is a pivot table? Do not fret. It is a spreadsheet nerdy thing that I definitely used when I was an actuary. I could totally see it being a pivot table too. It would be so cool. So cool. Okay. All right, let's talk. Let's talk about this topic. I'm excited about this topic and also a little bit, I don't know about nervous, but like, I didn't know what to call this video. So I did a video 2 or 3 years ago that was about like, you don't always have to have big goals. That was like something, I'll link it. It was something like that. And I wanted to do like another iteration of that same type of video. And when I was brainstorming with my content coach, we kind of talked about the phrase like build a life that you love. And like, yes, but at the same time, to me, that phrase feels really overused to the point that you're like, I don't like it. I don't know that it's actually going to motivate you or inspire you to do anything. And so love might just feel too far away potentially. So that's why I called it build a life that you like, because I do believe that you deserve to be happy most of the time. Not all the time. We are not going to be happy all the time. Just go watch Inside Out. If you haven't watched Inside Out 2, it's on Disney Plus. It's great. Watch the Inside Out movies. We're not going to be happy all the time. We need those other emotions to be a human being. But I believe that we deserve to be happy most of the time. And I believe that goals are how you get there. I believe that by setting and accomplishing goals, that is how you create happiness. You always hear the cheesy saying like money doesn't buy happiness, but I've never seen somebody sad with like a private jet or insert thing here, right? And it's kind of a joke, but there are also realistic aspects to it that you're like, well, if I had more money to do XYZ, it would make me happy. And that's very possible. But since most of us are not going to just wake up and win the lottery tomorrow and let money fix or solve a bunch of our problems, goals are going to need to be the way that we create and build that happiness, that we create a life that we like. And here is the problem. We always think that goals need to be huge. Quit your job, buy a house, get married, have babies, lose 100 pounds, read 100 books, declutter top to bottom, finish every scrapbooking album. Like the list goes on and on of these like big, huge, giant goals. In the same vein, we also equate like our happiness to these big, giant moments, the weddings, the, house closings, the vacations. And like, yes, those things may make you happy. And like, they probably will in some capacity. But so might having a monthly book club with your friends, drinking one extra bottle of water, reading one chapter before bed, which, spoiler alert, will not add up to 100 books in a year. These little tiny things that are more on a regular basis, on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis, those things actually can and will make you happy. Those things actually do add up. We get so focused on the need for these big goals and these big changes, these big life events, these vacations and these marriages, these weddings, that we forget that the little things can have an impact too. In fact, most days, like on a day-to-day basis, they arguably have a bigger impact because that's what you're living on a regular basis. When we use the phrase build a life that you like, life most of the time, this is getting like much more, and there's practical questions to think about at the end of this video. Okay? This is not just going to be me ranting about the topic, but life is a lot of that little stuff. It's a lot of that in between. It's a lot of those little pieces on your day-to-day, hour-to-hour basis, not the big giant things. So as we start to brainstorm for 2025, which by the way is not required. If you were like, Laken, please do not bring up 2025. It is only October. I would like to focus on this year. It's kind of like how I walked into Michael's this morning and I wanted to see what kind of Halloween stuff, decor and stuff they had for our Halloween party. And there was already like 3 or 4 rows of Christmas stuff out. Christmas. I'm like, no, I'm not there yet. Like, we're jumping the gun. Can we like focus on Halloween first? We're not even halfway through October. I've only watched 1 Halloween movie, which by the way, thank you for all your input on your favorite Halloween movies to help me build my list. Anyways, not required to brainstorm for 2025. But if you're like me, ideas have already popped up into your head and you don't have the capacity to add those things in October, November, December. Like there's no way. Some of the things on my brainstorming list are like truly cannot happen until 2025. And then some of them are like, no, you just don't have the capacity to think about that now. That's how I started the list back in June, by the way. I thought of an idea of something I wanted to do in June. And I was like, you don't need to do that now. There's no capacity. Like, put it on the list. Put it in the book. Anybody else watch Mean Girls last week? Anyway, I would encourage you to maybe consider starting a list or just having a list available to you so that when ideas pop into your head, you have a place for them to live. I wish I could pop it up for you, but there's obviously a few of the goals with Laken Planner, the 2024 version, you have this, or the Q4 version. It's the very last page of your planner. If you're a community member, it's a free downloadable. I don't want to see them, but it just says 2025 brainstorm at the top. I have split mine in half and I have personal on one half and work on the other half. I've already crossed something off. I already wrote something down and then crossed something off. Isn't that funny? I thought of it and then I was like, nope, I actually don't want to do that in 2025. But anyway, I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things for personal and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things for work. But I want you to, as you start to brainstorm or think of things for next year, I'm going to give you 3 questions to think about. When are you the happiest on a day-to-day basis? When do you have a smile on your face on a regular basis? What lights you up? And it could be something as simple as like when Lila wakes up in the morning and I go in there to see her, she has this huge grin on her face and she is just so happy to be awake and to start her day, to see me. And it's just like the best thing. What that tells me is I would never want to pick something that within reason, right? I'm going out of town this weekend. That's different. But on a regular day-to-day basis where I am not there for when she wakes up in the morning. Like I would never want that to not be my everyday, my most days, not every day, my most days, right? That makes me happy every day. Charlie has just decided that she wants to enter the chat, which means the door is open. So you're going to potentially hear those people that are in my house. But what is it about your everyday, your day-to-day that makes you smile? And how can you, this follow up to this, which this is the piece of it that you don't need to figure out now, right? I just want you to think of this surface level. When are you happy? I could have just written Lila in the morning, right? The act period. When we get to the actual like converting things to goals part of this, which will, hey Charlie, which will happen in December when we start working on our goals, which by the way, the dates are coming soon for the workshops for you to save the dates, mark them in your calendar. I've had a lot of messages about that behind the scenes. So, hey, kitty. You don't need to worry about, like I just said, converting it into a goal or an action step right now. You just getting them out of your head is what I want you to do. And I want you to be thinking about it, like keeping these ideas at the forefront of your mind on a regular basis. So you're going throughout your day and something really awesome makes you smile or makes you happy. And it's again a regular thing, a everyday, not like a one-time exciting moment. I want you to notice that and potentially write it down, right? That's what you could use the brainstorming page for, is answering these questions. In fact, if you really want to keep these at the forefront of your mind, like write them at the top of this page, like how these can, keeping them at the forefront of your mind. Okay, number 2, what is the most frustrating part of my day? I do like to talk about happy and rainbows and sunshine. But I also want you to focus on eliminating the frustrations and the kinks and the wrinkles and the things that make your day hard, the things that make you go, ugh, the things that make you like cringe. What are the things that you go about your day and you're like, that added to my frustration, that added to my stress, that added to my anxiousness, that added to my unhappiness, frankly. Like, and again, we're not talking like giant boulder sized things. I'm talking like the location of the litter box. I'm talking which like there's not a good spot for it. Okay. That's just the conclusion that I've come to in this house. I had another example and then now I forgot what it was. But just the little things. And again, you don't need to worry about converting them to goals yet. And if you look at that frustration, you're like, I have no idea. Just hiding back there behind the plants. Can you not eat my plant, please? Thanks. Don't worry about converting them to goals. Charlie's eating the plant. Worry about getting them out of your head, having those be idea sparkers, putting them down on paper so that when it comes time to work on our goals, to set goals for 2025, you aren't just distracted by the big shiny goals. You can think about these little tiny frustrations that happen on your day-to-day basis and find a way to convert them. And if you need help, like I'm here to help you convert those little frustrations into ways to, into goals, so they won't be frustrating for you. Sorry, I'm distracted by Charlie and the plant. Okay, question number 3. At the end of the day, ask yourself, if I could have done one thing differently today, what would it have been? Just one. Not like, can I blow up the whole day? Not can I, change my entire life? But like, if I could have switched one little thing, what would that have been? What would it be, that one little thing that I want to change? One thing that I wish had gone differently. And I should add to this question, this is, you are in control. Not, I wish that person at work hadn't been such a jerk, or I wish Charlie hadn't eaten the plant. Not in our control. I mean, maybe like Charlie eating the plant, like I could control that to some extent by like not letting her in here. But when you answer all of these questions, happiness, frustration, one thing you would change, you're in control. Something that you could adjust to make it different. Now, again, kind of goes with the like transitioning it to goals. If you're not quite sure, you're like, well, I might be able to do something like Charlie and the plant that I could do it, but it's not directly associated with me. Write it down. Get the idea out of your head. But I don't want you to write like, I wish, well, I don't know. I was going to say, I wish there was less traffic, but like, if that was the one thing you wish had been done different, or the most frustrating part of your day, how could you avoid the traffic? Could you leave earlier? Could you take public transit so you could do something instead of sitting in the car? Could you make the most of being in the traffic? Like, let's brainstorm what you could change in order to make that not a thing. Yes, the traffic existing is not in your control. You can't just like magic wand the traffic out of the way, but you could change something where you don't have to deal with the traffic. right? So that is it. Those are my questions that I would like you to keep at the forefront of your mind as you continue to brainstorm and think about what you might want to focus on next year. We are not worrying about concrete goals or action steps today, or even tomorrow, or even next month. We are just getting ideas out of our head so that when the time comes for us to pick our focuses for next year, we are picking things that will actually make our day-to-day lives better and happier, and not things that like, well, this is probably the year I should like buy a house. This is probably the year I should like, whatever. Like those things are great, and those are great goals, and they can be very helpful. But most of our day is made up of these things. So, okay, let me quickly check the comments. My daily happiest moment is when your husband gets home from work. I love that. That's so sweet. Okay. The rest of our time today is yours. Q&A. Feel free to ask anything that's on your mind. It can be about the topic, but it could be about something totally different. It could be about goals. It could be not about goals. It can be about your individual goals. I promise you that even if you feel like it's really specific to you in your life, somebody is going to benefit from the question. And you're here live, so you're always welcome to ask whatever the heck you want to ask. If you don't know how to phrase it to a question, you can just put topic and whatever the topic is, and we can chat about it. And if you are watching the replay and you have a question, leave it in the comments. And if I don't feel like I can sufficiently answer it via typing, I will answer it on next week's live. So the rest of this time is yours. How can I deal with the frustration of two people in the family that cause me a lot of stress? How can that be a goal? They're going to this weekend's Thanksgiving dinner in Canada. I forgot that Canadian Thanksgiving is earlier in the year. So this is definitely one of those goals. It's like this, it seems like it's out of your control, and to some extent it is. The way people act and what people choose to do is not in your control. What you can control is your reaction to them. And so it might be tough, but focusing on keeping, like, how do I say this? You're not letting it cause you more stress than it does innately. Like, I'm not saying it's going to be perfect and it's not going to be 0, but instead of letting it be 100, can you like let it impact you a little bit less? I think this is also a topic that I can only goal coach braveness so much. And there really are relationship aspects to this and mental health aspects to this that can only be solved by the people involved and conversations and deciding if it's, even worth being around them and et cetera. And I do not have the credentials to support that component of this. I think the only other thing that I can think of in my head is just focusing on the pros and the cons. So making sure that we are always putting ourselves in scenarios where the pros are outweighing the cons. So the cons of the two people in the family that cause you a lot of stress, that will exist. What about the pros? Who else do you get to see? Who else do you get to spend time with? What's your favorite piece of the holiday? And focus on those things and making sure that those things outweigh the cons, right? Making sure those things are positive. But that would be my other suggestion. I just talked about this in therapy for the past hour. Yeah. That was my initial thought too, is that it kind of feels like, because I understand not sharing the specifics with a group of strangers on the internet, although I would like to think that we are not strangers, y'all. We are very much friends. But I understand not sharing the specifics. And I think knowing the specifics could really help figure out some practical tools. Are you able to create some space away there in the kitchen? You're in another room. Yeah, that's definitely an option too, depending on the situation, at different ends of the table, et cetera. Yeah, sorry you're dealing with that. That's really tough. The pro is Thanksgiving with your grandma. She's 90. That is, yes. There you go. Just sit with grandma the whole time. You and grandma. Ask her stories. Google like questions. Ask your grandparents. I did that last time I hung out with my grandfather, by the way, because I feel like Like, there's only so much, like, let me update you on my life. And the conversation doesn't always necessarily flow. I mean, it depends on the grandparent. With just my grandfather, it doesn't always flow the way it does with like my parents. And so I like questions to ask your grandparents. And like, there were some really cute ones. And it like, it turned into some cute stories that I liked hearing from him. Hello, ma'am. Honestly, I would probably just avoid them as much as possible if it's not going to cause more friction. Hi, Tar. Hopefully that's helpful for you a little bit, Becca. Sorry you're dealing with that. Yeah, if they get mad about that, then step out. I think another idea is and maybe it's grandma, but I was thinking have somebody that that knows that you struggle with these individuals that you can go to when you need that safe like anchor. You need that person that's like, okay, I'm coming to you because I'm avoiding saying something I don't want to regret, etc. Like you have that person that you go to in that moment. Okie dokie. I see your question, Monique. Can you tell me about the pros and the cons of the Oura ring? I don't necessarily have pros, cons about the ring itself. For me, the ring is all pros. The only con is a me problem. I got my ring for my ring finger with the intention that I got it in October of last year. So I've had about a year. And it was like very freshly postpartum. And I just like assumed that my fingers were swollen and like whatever. So I got it for my ring finger thinking that I would lose weight and I could move it to my pointer finger. And surprise, that has not happened. So I would really like to wear it on my pointer finger, but that's a me problem, not a Oura ring problem. I don't really have any complaints about my Oura ring. What I meant when I said pros cons about not wearing my watch. So I stopped wearing my Apple Watch partially because it like wasn't holding a charge. And I saw that comment from you, Joanna, where you said like you took it in and they were able to replace it. And I could totally try that, although it's 5 years old at this point. So I think it's probably just like, it's just old. And I really like anything that my watch was doing from a fitness standpoint, my ring does. And so I don't miss my watch from a fitness standpoint. Sometimes I miss being able to actually check the time. That I understand can be fixed with like an actual regular watch, which I don't have. Let me take that back. I have one that my parents got me as you're starting a big girl job gift. And it's beautiful, but it's huge. It was perfect for when I was going in the office to a corporate job every day. I like wore it and it looked cute and I loved it. I cannot fathom wearing that thing every single day. So I do sometimes miss checking the time. I do sometimes miss getting text to my wrists. This I feel like is both a pro and a con. I liked not always having to go grab my phone when I was like if somebody sent me a text, I could just read it. And like, especially if I'm in the middle doing something with Lila and like my phone is not there, like I can just look at it on my watch. But so I like, or I miss that. But at the same time, I kind of like not having technology attached to my wrist and like being able to see those messages 24/7. Like sometimes it's like a group chat popping off and you're like, I don't need to deal with this right now. And so you know what I mean? So it's been like 2 weeks, I feel like, since I've worn my Apple Watch. And yeah, I don't know that I'm gonna put it back on. That's really the big con that I'm struggling with is like feeling like I want to grab my phone to see if somebody has texted me. And you know, a real solution to that would be is turning the sound on my phone. Did we forget that like phones can still make sounds? So that might be the solution. Like again, I have look all these texts I have that I didn't see because my watch isn't on. So I don't know. It's nothing about the ring. I love my ring. The cruel part of pregnancy is sometimes your feet and fingers don't go back to normal size. Yeah, it's lovely. So here's the weird part. My wedding rings never got that tight. Like they were always okay, which you know what probably should have been a sign that like my fingers were never going to go down in size. Oh well. Oh, well, hopefully that was helpful for you, Monique. I'm excited for you to get your ring. I do love it. I mean, for me, I mostly got it for the sleep tracking, which I still totally use and totally love it for. And I got it for cycle tracking, um, which I also love it for. A con for me is that the Oura ring and the workouts can be finicky seeking the ring from your watch. Yes, I did find that. But now that I'm not using my watch for workouts and I'm just using my ring, then it's not a deal. It's not an issue, right? Like I'm just using my ring for workouts and I like that better. So yes, I did feel that way too. And I was so concerned about like closing my Apple Watch rings that I would like prioritize that over it syncing properly on my actual Oura ring. My wedding set is kind of thick because your bands surround your engagement ring. You can still wear the engagement band because it's thin, but not the other ones. It's all right. You're growing a human. If you can't wear your rings, you can't wear your rings. I know it's a bummer. All right. What else is on your mind? What other questions do you have? What else do you want to chat about? What are you struggling with? I have an interview coming up. Congrats. And I haven't had one in a while. Do you have any good tips to prepare for it? So this is, feel like I've had this question before, and I always have to like preface by saying that I only did an external interview once in my entire career for my internship at New York Life Insurance. And then once I got the internship, everything after that was internal. Not that I didn't have interviews for various job changes or promotions within the company, but I haven't interviewed formally since I was 21. 20 actually was when the interviews were. Wow, that's bananas. So I don't know that I'm the best person to ask for tips. This is definitely one of these things that I would either Google or ask an expert. That if there's somebody that you know that works in HR, or if there's somebody that you know that is like a career coach. I always, when this question does come up, I point people to a YouTube channel of somebody I have interacted with on Instagram before. Her name is Cassandra Thompson, and she is all about resumes and LinkedIn. And so I would check out her YouTube channel. She probably definitely has some great tips on interviews. But I personally am not the best person to answer this. But if anybody watching, either live or the replay, does work in HR and has some good tips for this question, please leave them in the chat or in the comments. And then Becca, I would come back in a couple of days and see if any of the comments, anybody has commented with some tips for you. I know we have lots of friends that work in HR that probably have more helpful advice than I do. Just joining now, waiting for this hurricane to hurry up. I am so sorry to hear that, Deborah. And I am definitely sending all of my thoughts and love to those of you that are in the path of the hurricane that's about to, actually it's already started to hit. I have family in Venice, Florida. So definitely up to date on what is going on down there. And I'm very sorry to hear about all of that. And I don't even know if I think we did last week talk about those of you that are struggling or were hit by Helene. Yeah, it's a lot. I saw on Instagram too, somebody was like, can we stop giving these hurricanes these like sweet, like old person names like Helene and Milton? Helene and Milton would never hurt a fly. I was like, so sweet. Cassandra Thompson. Yes, that's how you spell it. I'll link it after the live is over if you can't find it. But that's her name. Her YouTube channel, I think, is just her name. But I don't follow her on YouTube. I just follow her on Instagram. good suggestion. It helped for me to have a friend ask some interview questions and some questions to get to know me to help with your nerves. That's a great idea. And like practicing with a friend and practicing actually saying things out loud, because it is definitely tough sometimes to like when you're actually in the moment trying to say things out loud. Watching from home since I made it home safe from a vacation in Orlando. Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's a lot. My parents are actually supposed to go down there next weekend to visit my family in Venice. Don't know. I don't know what that looks like. No, they don't like to leave. They have a storm room. They are hunkered down in their storm room. Deep breaths. Deep breaths. What else is on your mind? What are you struggling with? Any questions? How are your goals going this month? It is the 9th. So we're almost a third of the way through the month. So not a bad time to check in and assess and think like, how am I feeling about this month? Do I feel like I need to maybe decrease some things or go ahead and cross something off? Like, what have you learned about your goals so far this month? Janelle, hello. Are you still thinking about doing a meet and greet with you and Allie? Yes, I was actually that's on my brainstorm list, by the way. It says in-person event is like the very first work brainstorming event. And I know we had originally talked about the spring, but I had a new idea pop up that would lend itself better to like August. But yes, it's going to happen next year. I'm going to do something in person. I just need to make a decision kind of on the vibe and the theme and the like what it's going to look like and feel like. And I'm starting to think about that now so that it's not like, last year I was trying to kind of throw something together last minute or this year. That wasn't last year. And I ended up deciding that it wasn't going to happen. Yeah. I don't know that. I don't know what to call it, but I want to give you far enough notice. Oh, I'm coming to Chicago for this. For those of you who live like Janelle, I know you're in the area, but there are people who are like close enough that they would potentially come. And then I also was kind of thinking about adding on like one or two other things that would just like be totally optional. I mean, I guess all of it's optional, but like have the actual event be like a thing and there's going to be a ticket and a reserved location, all that jazz. But then maybe have like one or two other like at a park, at the zoo, at whatever, that's kind of like if you are coming in and want other things besides just like that one thing. So yeah, but definitely at a minimum, like April, because I'm not going to like the weather before that is questionable. And actually probably at a minimum late April, because early April we have a trip for my father-in-law's 70th birthday. And then we have and then we go to Houston for Passover. So late April will be the earliest. The latest would be August. So somewhere in there, which is beautiful time to be in Chicago. Book shopping. Oh my gosh, that would be so fun. Yeah, like shopping, like, or then not even, like, yeah, going to a mall. Not really a whole lot of malls here in the city, but I was actually thinking also karaoke. There's a karaoke bar that I love, 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 love. And I thought that could be fun. So yeah, I was trying to, and that was one of the components of it, that doing it kind of last minute. This past year, I felt like I couldn't fit all that in. Or like plan all those components of it. And so by giving myself until next year gives me more time to figure that out. Yeah, drinks and karaoke. The karaoke place has a killer happy hour on weekends too. So that was one of my thoughts. I thought that would be fun. So if you have any ideas or suggestions or things that you would be excited, if you are somebody who is either in Chicagoland in the Midwest or like close enough that you would make a trek to come hang out with us. TBD, I definitely would want my sister to be able to be there. TBD on whether my sister and I would actually record an episode live. I also thought about making that a separate thing because not everybody listens to the podcast. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. Podcasts in general aren't everybody's cup of tea, but in general. Okay. But the answer is yes. Have you decided on Halloween costumes? No, I haven't. Some of the ideas that we have toyed with, and I would love if anybody has any other suggestions or any, if you like any of our ideas. So I definitely am considering Jack and Sally and Oogie Boogie. I've always wanted to be Jack and Sally. Like that's been on the list for a long time. And so having Lila be Oogie Boogie. We talked about doing the Flintstones. So Fred and Wilma and Bam Bam. Flintstone. I feel like there was one more that I was seriously considering, but now I'm like, I briefly, I know what it is. Including my sister and doing Frozen. So, Pebbles, you're right. Sorry. Bam Bam's the boy. You're right. Pebbles, that's the girl. So Lila and Sam and I would be Anna and Kristoff and Olaf. And then Allie would be Elsa. So that's another option. I don't know. Yes, Pebbles. Oh. I really want my one of my best friends, whose son is just a month older than Lila. I want them to come for Halloween, and they can be the other family in the Flintstones, which is Bam Bam, because they have a little boy, and it would be so funny. Anybody else have Halloween costumes they've already picked? I think I did make our decision last year, like really close to Halloween, so I have time. Yeah, Bam Bam, that Barney and Betty, that's right. So I want my friends to be Barney and Betty and Bam Bam, and we would be Fred and Wilma and Pebbles. Because it's funny, because when I put Lila's hair in like the one ponytail on the top of her head, like she looks like Pebbles. And so in that little bone, it would be so cute. It would be so cute. And there's tons of them. Like all of these, like I've Googled and like they exist. But at the same time, sometimes I'm like, am I really spending that much money on a costume that my child is going to wear one time? Like one time. Our son is too old to dress up, but we might need some for a Halloween party. Brittany, I will give you my idea for that I had if I was going to be pregnant last year. Last year. Of Sully and Mike Wazowski. And then your belly is like the eyeball. Just like get like a Mike Wazowski shirt. If we like didn't get pregnant and I ended up being pregnant at Halloween, that was my idea for last year. My daughter wants to be Evie from The Descendants. So I'm going to be the evil queen and your husband's going to be Hades. Oh, that is so fun. I used to make all your sons when he was super little. Oh my gosh, so many Descendants. Chloe from The Descendants. We're doing costumes at work and I need some ideas. Is there a theme or something that maybe like think of something like you also have The Nightmare Before Christmas. Maybe you do something from that. Or like, let me think. Also, I feel like I have a bunch, like my easy ones. I have like a Harry Potter robe I throw on when I just need a costume. That's true. As Lila gets older, Halloweens can become a part of dress up. Totally. They can just get thrown in there. And I've actually, yeah, that's a great point. I also feel like as she gets older, I'm not going to be in control of picking them. I definitely am team, like still have a family costume. And so if she picks that she wants to be whatever, like I'll adjust our costumes as such. I know I'm only going to get another, like maybe one more year after this of like I get to pick the costumes. Not dressing up this year, but I have the best memories of my mom making my Halloween costumes. Oh, I love that. I love it. That's so fun. I love Halloween, y'all. I do. I love Halloween. Okay, I saw one goal related question up here, which I love this. I'm happy to talk about Halloween and then like flip and talk back to goals and like flip back and we can talk about like TV shows. What tools or techniques do you recommend for tracking progress towards goals? This is a great question. I also feel like this question, the answer to this varies greatly depending on what goal you're working on and what kind of personality you have. So, my general tips for this is a way like tracking in a way that you're going to see it. You are going to see the progress. So whether that if like I use the habit app on my phone and I have the widget on my home screen and so I can see the progress there. I have my goal tracking sheet that hangs like above and I can see the progress there. Having it in a way that you're going to visibly see the progress on a regular basis. Number 2 is making sure that you are like you have a routine to check in with it. So you're not just like making a tracker and then never actually checking in with it. So whether you're going to track it every single day, which I have gone in and out of phases. I'm back on a phase of tracking every single day, just because I feel like my memory has gotten so bad that like if I don't mark it off that day, I will forget if I did it. So I like doing it every day. But if that's too much, if you want to do it every other day or twice a week or one, like I wouldn't go any less than once a week would be my like minimum on checking in with trackers for goals. And then my last like suggestion is being reasonable about the time frame. So while I think like these big long yearly trackers can be really helpful and exciting, most of the time we change our minds or something changes before we like before like it just things change. And so having like you set up this whole yearly tracker and then you don't end up using it, or you end up using it for a month and then you change your mind or you forget about it or you're not looking at it or whatever. So I wouldn't go more than a quarter. That's what I do on my business goals. But for personal, like a month, you set up a tracker for a month and you follow through on that. And then you can change your mind at the following month. If you want specific examples for any goals that you specifically have, let me know, and I'd be happy to share any ideas. No theme, it needs to be easy because I don't want to spend too much money and not too much time in the morning. Some sort of animal. Ears. Literally, you order a pair of like cat ears and you wear black cat ears. And if you're really feeling up for it, you put some eyeliner, whiskers, and nose. The number of times for work, that's what I did because like I'm not going to wear a full-blown costume at work for me typically when I was working my corporate job, but that's a great idea. It's easy, super easy, inexpensive. All you're doing is buying ears. And you don't have to be a cat. You could be anything. Any sort of animal that has ears. Do all animals have ears? Maybe. Perfect. Red panda. Wear a red outfit, red panda ears. Cute and snuggly. Which is easy too. Yes, hat, black dress, and heels. Great suggestion. Also, pretty much anything where you could just like have like a head gear and then like an outfit in a color. Yeah, great idea. All right, y'all. Any last minute questions? We have 5 minutes left. Where does the time go? All right. I'm going to ask you my last question then, which is what is the one thing that you're going to do this week to make progress on your goals? What is the one step that you are going to take to make progress on your goals? Let me know. If you are here live, I want you to share in the chat. I see lots of comments about ideas. Janelle, I talked about this in my goals video. Did I? I talked about completing 2023. I'll talk about this if I don't want to rush this question, so I will answer it next week. But I will get there. My one thing this week is to cheer on the Longhorns. It is rivalry. Why is that word so hard to say? Week. We are playing the Sooners. Sorry, any Oklahoma fans, but hook 'em. I already have my burnt orange nail polish ready to go. I'm going to be in Dallas with my dad at the game, and it's going to be so fun. Okay, my one serious thing is that I'm going to watch the How I Plan My Life video. My editor finished it. Her piece of it, it's almost an hour long, but I'm going to watch through it and make sure that it's exactly the way that I want it, because I know that it's going to be a really helpful video for a lot of people. So that is my one actual thing. What do we have here? Edit some social media content, post your 100 days, lots of tracking on the 100 days, finish your book club, check in with your planner. Sarge your storage of clutter. Oh my gosh. I didn't celebrate Halloween growing up because your stepsons are 16 to 22 and they do their own things. I feel that. But I've always been curious, aside from the little kid stuff, how to celebrate it. That's why we're hosting a party, because I want to be able to celebrate it in a way. So we're hosting our own party. Okay. If you are still here all the way at the end, thank you for watching all the way at the end. Those of you here live and those of you watching the replay, I would love for you to comment with any orange emoji to celebrate the Longhorns. I know it's technically burnt orange, but any orange emoji that you feel like you want to share, comment below that you watched all the way to the end. And if you wouldn't mind giving this video a thumbs up before you head out, I will see all of you next week. Thank you for hanging out with me.